what to tell about field music. This lesson is about expressions and phrases that are related to soundtracks. This amazing field music that we listen to in in movies, and we love them, and we can relate them or remind them every time we listen to them, and remember or reminding some good moments that we can spend while we are watching a spectacular film, as the one you are listening to in this moment, The Pursuit of Happiness. Remember Will Smith? Well, the creator, the composer, and the artist is Andrea Guerra. Hope you like it. Well, now, film expressions with music soundtracks. Here, we're going to check what information can explain us the origins of soundtracks. And for this, we have to analyze sentences. These sentences that they they express ideas and phrases as well. What's the difference between a sentence and a phrase? Well, a sentence is a statement, it's a question, it's an exclamation, it's a complete idea that has a subject, a verb, and complement, or as we can tell, subject and predicate. Remember, it is necessary that a sentence has these three elements: subject, verb, and predicate or complement. On the other hand, a phrase, is a simple set of ideas, but they are like incomplete sentences. They don't have verb, they don't have a predicate, but they gave us an idea that we can complete as a general expression, but in a written sentence, or even when you listen to them, they don't have these elements: subject, verb, or complement, but they can give us a general idea about what they are referring to. Let's see some expressions here of some quotes of films. For instance, "I'm the king of the world, Titanic." An exclamation is, "Show me the money." That's a command, that's an order. "My mama always said life was like a box of chocolate." Statement. Remember the movie Forrest Gump? And a question, "You talking to me?" The Taxi Driver film. Well, what about phrases? Some examples like "E.T. phone home." Are you listening to in this moment this film soundtrack? Well, the composer, this genius, John Williams, not only composed it, it also composed Jaws. Well, "My Precious," The Lord of the Ring, and Bond, James Bond. This is Dr. No. This a set of movies, films of James Bond. You see, all these expressions can give us a general idea, but they are not complete sentences. Well, in this topic, we're going to check out some aspects of sentences. Well, with field music expressions. Um, this is an excerpt from Max Steiner. This is considered the father of field music. He created King Kong soundtrack, the one that you are listening to in this moment. You see can you feel the energy of the music? Expresses some vigor of a gigantic beast as King Kong, and all the danger and all the fear and all the expression you can feel without watching this giant ape coming along the people and carrying up this beautiful lady on its hand. Well, let's check out the sentences. Well, a sentence can is needs to have these aspects. Well, to be a coherent sentence, so let's check subject, verb, and the complement. The complement can be or can have these other elements as indirect object. What's the indirect object? When we refer to people, you can identify this when you answer the question who you are talking about, and as well a direct object when you ask the question what. These two aspects, they are part of the complement or the predicate. So Film Academy considered Max Steiner to be the father of film music. Film Academy, well, that's the subject. The author of the action, considered, is the verb in simple past, as you can notice, the ed of the verb. Max Steiner is the indirect object. Who considered the Film Academy to be the father of the film? To Max Steiner. And what the Film Academy considered something about Max Steiner? Well, the father of film music. Now let's see this other expression, sentence. The Austrian American composer, so we are still talking about Max Steiner, was the first to underscore dialogue with music. The music of soundtracks, they tell us the story, maybe without the dialogue, maybe without words. Well, this Austrian American composer is the subject, is the verb, and the complement, the first to underscore dialogue with music, the first to combine dialogue with music. Early on, he discovered how music can enhance and even transform the impact of images, such as in the classic King Kong, filmed in 1933, and some other great film, Gone with the Wind, in 1939. Well, let's analyze all these sentences. He, well, is the subject. We're still talking about Max Steiner. The verb discovered. What he discovered, this is the direct object. How music can enhance and even transform the impact of images such as classicals as King Kong and the other film. These are some illustrative examples of the components of sentences. Well, this time we're going to talk about coherence in film music expressions. Are you listening to the background music in this moment? It's Alfred Hitchcock's film soundtrack, Psycho. You see? Alright, can you feel the violins? They stress all the people. They make us thriven or skin. Okay, well, subject-verb agreement. What is this? What does this mean? Well, when we are logically relating all the elements of a sentence. For instance, here we have Bernard Herrmann is the composer of this soundtrack you are listening to in this moment. So it says, a young woman is stabbed under a shower in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho film. So what is the subject? Well, in this case, we're not talking about the subject because the woman is not the one that is doing the action. Is the one that is receiving the action. Stabbed, you know what is the stab? What does stab mean? Well, can you see on the bottom of this slide on your right side? This is Alfred Hitchcock with the knife. He wants to stab something. All right, that's the action that you do with a knife. That is a stab. A young woman is the agent. Agent because the woman is not doing the action. It's agent. It's a stab. This is a compound verb. Is stabbed. Somebody is, well, trying to kill her with a knife. Is stabbed. Under the shower in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, it's the complement. Alright? What is the coherence here? Well, woman is the subject, and the verb is needs to be in the third person of singular. Is the conjugation needs to be coherently logical and agreed to the subject woman. The woman is stabbed. Yes? Alright, now the next sentence. The scene rendered a doubly terrifying sense by screeching violins. The violins are the ones who are telling us that there is someone who is trying to kill the woman behind her, grabbing a knife on his arm hand with a knife. Okay, now the scene is the subject. The scene rendered, the scene left us the feeling of a terrifying action by screeching the violins. This is the sense, all right? Well, render here is a verb, is a regular verb ending with ed. It's logically agreed with the subject scene. When we conjugate verbs, regular verbs in past, they don't seem to be complicated when we want to relate them with subjects. What is the conjugation of render? Rendered for all the subjects. Okay, the next sentence. The American composer's long career comprises the Orson Welles classical Citizen Kane and Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. What's the subject here? The American composer's long career. Career here is the subject, the most important thing we're talking about. We're not talking about composers. We're composers indirectly, but we're talking about the career, their career. And what's the verb? Comprises. Well, the comprises here is related to the subject because it is a singular, the third person of singular in present simple. Remember, it ends with S because we're talking about one, the career of the composer. All right, it is a third person of singular in present tense. Well, these are some examples of the coherence we need to consider when we make a sentence. You see the violins? The strength of the violins? Okay, let's continue. Now, phrases in film music. Let's check out some other expressions about film music. Can you remember? Does this music remind you something? Jaws. Can you watch the image in this slide? This is a gigantic shark. Jaws. Alright, one of the most emblematic soundtracks in the film music history ever. Well, this was composed by John Williams. John Williams, the composer of E.T. film, of Jaws. Well, that's a great composer. Let's check some phrases. Remember what a phrase is? Well, it's an expression that is not a complete sentence, but gives us a general idea. A phrase does not have a verb, does not have a complement, does not have predicate. Okay? It's a simple set of words that gives us a general idea. For instance, here the titles of films, they are phrases. They are short. They are short expressions. They are only 2 or 3 words, maybe. They can be more, but they express a general idea. They are very attractive. They impact the audience. But they are short expressions. They are phrases, as the ones we have here as examples. Jaws, for instance, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Schindler's List, Superman. These are examples of phrases. Some other example of phrases, for instance, the soundtracks made by Hans Zimmer, Lion King. Remember that film? Well, Lion King is a phrase. Rain Man is a phrase. Pirates of the Caribbean, it's also a phrase. Blade Runner 2049, that's a phrase also. Can you listen to the orchestra with those? The impact that they provoked on us. Once Upon a Time in the West, that's a phrase. Once Upon a Time in America, that's a phrase. The Untouchables, Unglorious Bastards, The Hateful Eight. Well, maybe you don't remember that Apollo was considered one of the most emblematic films related to space. But the soundtrack of this film was really amazing. All people from my generation, every time we have the opportunity to listen to this, it reminds us this amazing film. Well, let's see some practice here. What's the instruction? Identify and tell what kind of sentences are the next expressions. Is it a sentence or a question or an exclamation or a command? Let's see the example. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's a command. What is a command? It's a sentence that it doesn't have a subject. It only has a verb and a complement. It's an order. Okay? Well, now it's your turn. Let's see your performance in the next sentences. I know you will do it well. We continue with the practice. Film phrases and soundtracks. By the way, in each of the sites, you are given the link of YouTube where you can watch and listen to at the same time the soundtracks of the different film music. It appears as a background music in all the slides. Well, I hope you have the opportunity to watch and to listen to them. It's really amazing music. Okay, what's the instruction in this practice? Read the next excerpt from a great film music composer, in this time Erich Wolfgang Kongel. It's complicated to read these German last names. And identify only phrases, remember? They are incomplete sentences, but they give us the whole idea of something. All right, you're given some examples, 2 examples. Of Jewish background. What is that? Well, we don't know. We don't have a subject. We don't have a verb. We don't have a complement. The other example, the Seahawk. What is this? This is a subject, but it doesn't have a verb, neither a complement. Okay? Now it's your turn. Try to identify some phrases along this paragraph. Okay, the music you are listening to in this moment, by the way, it's The Adventures of Robin Hood, the first Robin Hood film made. It was in 1933, I guess, and the composer Erich Wolfgang, as you are listening to. Amazing, isn't it? And what about the soundtrack of the music you are listening to in this moment? Indiana Jones, right? Well, Indiana Jones, the theme of this amazing film we have listened to generation after generation. Okay? Well, now what is the instruction for this practice? You are going to identify and tell from the following quotes. Hey, look at this. These are quotes of the trilogy of these amazing films of Indiana Jones. Uh-huh. And you have to tell, is it a sentence or a phrase? You have to identify the sentences and phrases. So you're giving an example, okay? Well, professor of archaeology, expert on the occult, and how does one say it? Obtainer of rare antiquities. That's a phrase. Why it is a phrase? Because Indiana Jones is introducing himself. It's like you say, well, English teacher, housewife, 24 for 7 days, 24 hours for 7 days. And as one can tell, one can say, a film fanatic. Okay, I'm introducing myself, but I'm not giving any. I'm giving a complete idea, but I'm not referring a subject, a verb, or a complement. I'm just giving three different phrases at the same time, but no subject, no verb at all. All right? Okay, now it's your turn. Try to identify the phrases and the sentences. Are you listening to in this moment this amazing music? Okay, Star Wars. Yes, it is. Who can tell? Who can't guess this amazing soundtrack every time one listens to it? Well, yes, every human being in the world can identify this film. Well, almost everyone. Okay, what's the instruction here? Making coherence in film quotes with music. What's the instruction? So relate these three columns of some dialogues from Star Wars. These are some quotes of the different films of this amazing set of films of Star Wars to make coherent sentences. Alright, this is a great exercise for you to practice the syntax. When we talk about coherence, we talk about syntax in sentences. It is very important, not only in English but also in our mother tongue in Spanish, because, for instance, in Spanish, we do not commonly use subjects at the beginning of sentences, but in English, it is necessary, okay? Necessary to use a subject, to get a verb, and to get a complement. There are some special occasions in which we only tell some phrases as examples before, as in titles of films, in titles of songs. But when we want to express something more, to give more ideas, to give more information, we need sentences. And we, not only that, we have to make them coherent. This means with logical syntax. This means that the subject and the verb make an agreement. Alright? Remember, in the conjugation, in the tense, alright? If it is the third person of singular, and so. Let's give an example. Okay? It is not my fault. This is a quote, a dialogue of Han Solo. It is not my fault. Alright? Is the conjugation of the verb be. It only accepts three subjects. Remember, he, she, it. In this case, we're talking about one thing, it. It is not my fault. Okay? Now it is your turn. Try it and you will learn a lot. If you want to get more information about the composers of the soundtracks, even quotes from films, and practice more English, here you have some references. Thank you, and hope you have learned a little more than you did before. This means that little by little you are speaking, reading, learning, and understanding more of the English language. See you next lesson.